Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on messenger marketing and building smarter Chatfuel bots using the JSON API. My name is Mark Littlemore. I've been a developer for many years and I'm an expert chatbot builder and a lover of all things technology. Today we're going to build a simple bot for serving up the location and finding the nearest location to your user. We're going to do that by setting up a server, adding a list of locations and then passing in the user's latitude and longitude to find out where the nearest location is to them. I've got to give you a big warning about this. The solution I'm going to give you is very, very simple and it's not very scalable. I don't think it'll work beyond sort of tens of locations. It's going to get very expensive and very slow because we're going to calculate the distance from the user to every location that we have. If you want to make it scale for more locations, the best thing to do is put all your data into a database and use something called GEOHASHING, which allows you to segment up the world. I will put your URL on the screen now if you look into more of that, or you can ping me on Facebook or Twitter and I can tell you more about it. Right, let's get started. First thing to do is go to glitch.com. If you've seen my previous videos, you know I love Glitch. Click on New Project and click on Hello Express. That will create you a simple Node.js app. Here's one I've built earlier, and the URL's on the screen. A few things we're going to do. We're going to build a get endpoint to get our location from our user. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So we do app.get, and we'll call it nearest for our nearest location. It expects a request, and we'll give it a response, and then we can return some data. First thing we need to do is we need to get the user's location. We're going to do that using Messenger's send location, and that will be able to give us, through Chatfuel, give us a latitude and longitude of the user. So we get the latitude from the query. That's the query parameters, latitude, and we'll do the same thing for the longitude. Longitude. There we go. Okay, so the next thing we need is a set of locations. So I'm going to do some burger locations because mine's going to be a burger bot. So we'll do burger locations. And this is an array, a JavaScript array. And inside this, we're going to have a set of objects with metadata for each of our burger chains. So I've made them before. I'm going to cut and paste them in. So here you go. We've got an object, a JavaScript object with a name, a URL because we're going to redirect our user to the website, an image URL so we can show an image on the screen. But the most important thing is these two, the latitude and longitude, because we need to know the location of this this burger chain. In this case, McDonald's or Five Guys. There's one local to me called the Stockyard, and then a UK one called the Burger King. And I'm going to try and find the locations of those. Okay, so given that we have our latitude and longitude, we're going to try and find the nearest location. Okay. So we're going to do const locations, and we're going to say find nearest burgers, burger joints. There we go. And we're going to pass through our latitude and longitude that our user has given us. Now we could let's just try this. We could just do a response.json with our locations, and we can test this in a minute. Okay, so how do we find our nearest locations? So we need to write the function find nearest burger joints, and we need to pass in a latitude and a longitude, and let's create a function. Create a function which goes through all of our data that we've got here and finds the ones nearest to us. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So what we need to do is for every location, we need to find the distance from our user using the latitude and longitude to that burger joint. So for this, I looked through a few different location libraries to find distances. There are various different methods you can use to find distances between 2 points. In terms of the world is obviously spherical, so we're going to use something called geolib here, which uses something called the Vincenti's formula, which finds the distance between 2 points on a spheroid. There's the Haversine formula as well, which is another way of doing it. These are basically finding distances on a globe, on a sphere, as is the world, because we all know the world is round and not flat, don't we? But there might be a better way to do this. You could perhaps use the Google Distance Matrix API, which would give you the distance traveling, because if you're going to travel down roads. But this is very simplistic. It's going to just find the distances on a sphere. So if you look in NPM, which is a package manager for Node. There's a lib called geolib. So we're going to install that now. So we go to our package.json. So we're going to add the geolib package, which you should find here. Yeah. And we click on that, it gets added there. And then we can use it. Let's go server.js. And we need to add it at the top of the file. So we're going to const geolib equals require geolib. Then we can start using it. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go down to our find nearest burger joints. And what we're going to do, we're going to iterate through all of our burger joints, and we're going to add the distance to them. So we're going to get a complete sort of metadata including the distance. Okay, let's go through, let's call it const locations equals burger locations. And there's a map function, which means iterate through every element within an array and apply a function to it. So in this case, we're going to get a function which gives us a distance. So if we say const distance equals, and this is geolib.getDistance. This is a function within the geolib library. Within that, we need to set up the user's distance, latitude and longitude, and it expects an object like this with latitude and longitude. And this is just the shorthand way of saying latitude. And we don't have to do that in more modern JavaScript in Node. And the second parameter is another one, which has got latitude. But this is going to be the distance, the latitude of the location. So we do location.latitude. And then the longitude is a location.longitude. Okay, so that's going to give us a distance there. And that's the distance between the user's location and that location. So let's also return the rest of the metadata. So we're returning this, we're going to return object.assign, and this just creates us a new JavaScript object, a blank one. We're going to apply the location, all of the data for the location, and then we want to add the distance to it. Distance. There we go. And we've got this list of locations. So if we return this from our function here, return locations, the locations here will then be spat out into JSON format. So I'm going to run. I've got Postman here. I'm going to hit this endpoint and call nearest. If I can spell, I'm going to pass in my latitude and longitude. Hopefully when I hit send now, we get a list of locations, if you can see these, and they all have all of the metadata, but also the distance. So I've got various distances here. So the distance from me to McDonald's is 5121 meters. This is in meters now. Distance to me and five guys is 19. 1,000. Can I even do maths? 19,114 meters. That's 19.1 kilometers. Stockyard's very close, 1906 meters. And finally, Burger King's 3882. So the next thing we need to do, you can see that these aren't in order, so we need to sort them. So let's use JavaScript sort now. Okay, so we've got all of our locations, and we can apply a JavaScript sort. And it expects a location A and a location B. And this is a function we're going to create, which is going to return either a -1, a +1, or a 0. And that basically is whether each of the locations, or in this case the distances, are equal, less than, or greater than. So let's just get the distances out. Distance A equals location A dot distance. So that's from our object here that we've already created, that we saw in the Postman here. We're going to take the distance out of this object there. And then the distance for B, distance B equals location B dot distance. And then we're going to do a comparison. So we're going to say if distance A is less than distance B, yeah, then for that we're going to return -1. It's less. If distance A is greater than distance B, then we can return that as a 1. And the reason we do this is because the JavaScript array sort method expects a function which does this. It returns a -1, 1, or a 0. So in all other cases, we can just return a 0, because that will mean that distance A is not less than B and is not greater than B, i.e. it is actually the same. So that's when we return 0. So if we've done that now, we've sorted them, the locations have been sorted, and we're going to return them. So if we now run this again with our location, we should see, and hopefully I've done this right, that they're now ordered in distance. So 1906, 3882, 5121, and 19114. So we have, in fact, sorted them by our distance to the user. So we can see if we take the first element of this array, that's actually the nearest place to us. So let's do that now. Okay, so let's find the singled nearest location. So given that we have a list of locations and they're now ordered, we can get the nearest location by looking into our array of locations. And if we take the first element, which is 0, in programming terms, when you look into an array, the first element is 0. They're called 0 indexed arrays. And that is going to be the first set of metadata. So it's going to have all of this data, plus it's going to have the distance. So we should then return that to the user. Okay, cool. So let's do that. So instead of returning this this JSON payload with all the locations, we're going to split it down into Chatfuel format. So if you remember, have you seen any of my other videos? And if not, please watch them, and they'll help you out. We have an array of messages like this. The first thing we can do like an image attachment. So I've just got this function that I always use to give us an image attachment. I'm just going to paste it up here. All it does is return as a JavaScript object with an image URL. So I can just pass through image attachment. So we can do image attachment. And within that, we've got this nearest location now. So we can do nearest location. And inside that, we're going to have our image URL. Because we set, if you look above, we set all our image URLs. We're going to use that. That gives us an image that we can send back to Chatfuel. Next thing we need to do is we need to do an attachment. Let's do an attachment with some buttons on it. It's a little bit more complicated. Let me just find it there. I'm going to pass this through. And you can find this in the Chatfuel documentation. It's just the same as Messenger. It's an attachment of type template, and the payload is a template type button. And we're going to have some text in it. So I've said the nearest place for a juicy burger is my nearest location.name. We're using a string template there. We're going to put that into our string. Look at those little things there. They're backticks and not single quotes. Then we need an array of buttons. We've got our web URL, and within that we've got the nearest location URL and with a title show website. So if we now run Postman and say where's our nearest location, it gives us a Chatfuel style payload with a message attachment for an image, and then another attachment which is the button payload. So we need to put those into Chatfuel and see what happens. Okay, so here's my Chatfuel bot, my Mark bot, the one that I always use to test things with. I've created something called get location and find location. So the first thing we do is type in indicator, let me find your nearest burger joint to you. I've put you a little GIF in there because we all love a nice GIF, don't we? So that's just using my API to get a GIF. And then saying give me your location, asking for the share location. So basically your share location there. And then we're going to go to the block, the find location after that. Okay, and our find location, it's going to retrieve the nearest burger to you. Again, type in indicators. You all know how to do this, I hope. But here's the thing we need to do now. So we've set up this Chatfuel location bot in Glitch. And it's got this endpoint /nearest. So we take the URL for that, chatfuellocation.glitch.me/nearest. And we're going to take the latitude and we're going to pass through the latitude and longitude that we've got from the previous share location. And the share location there gives you latitude and longitude, as you can see there. Okay, so when we do that, it should just spit out some data from our API and then say, what do you want to do now? If you go into Setup AI, I've added something in here to location. When I type location, it gets a location. Okay, so we're going to Messenger bot and type location. You can see I've already tested this before. Let's do location. Let's see what happens. Should find a nearest burger joint for us. Give us a GIF of a burger. That looks like a juicy burger. So once my location, I'm going to send my location. Here's where I live. Hopefully this is going to work. Yep, I'm going to send it my location. So it should have sent that to the API, the latitude and longitude of my house. Nearest burger joint to me should be. Let's get an image of it. This is a Stockyard burger. So Stockyard is just down the road from where I live. So that's great. So it's worked. So let's try and find another. I'm going to update the API now. Okay, I'm going to add in Mark's Burgers, because I make my own homemade burgers. Not quite as good as anyone else's burgers, I'm afraid. I'm not an expert, but let me add another one in here. And this should be, that's just Mark's homemade burgers. Yep. And what I've done is I've set the latitude and longitude to be the same as what I'm going to pass through as my location. So that should be nearer now. So let's just test that this works. Okay, so if I type location again, and we put in our location, this time it should find Mark's homemade burgers because the location is exactly the same that I'm passing through. Let's try this. Yeah, get me a burger. Send it through my location. And hopefully the nearest burger restaurant to you is, drum roll please. Yep, Mark's homemade burgers. So that's now nearer to us. So it all works. Great stuff. So a quick recap. We've learned how to set up a server, add a list of locations, find out the distance between a user and that location for each of the burger joints that we've put in. And we've created a function to return some JSON back to find the nearest location. We've sorted that data. A few things that you could do things like capping it by distance, so don't get anything beyond a certain distance. I'll leave that as an exercise for you, or you can ping me online. If you want to see more of those videos, please subscribe and like the video. Ping me on the Facebook groups, the Chatfuel Facebook groups. I'm always hanging around there and answering questions. And I'll see you again when we make another videos for messenger marketing and building smart Chatfuel bots.